Welcome back to Cal Park Bros. Jason and I are fresh off the segment, preemptively critiquing and projecting the National Basketball Association playoffs. I am fairly confident that Jason's Golden State Warriors uh, assessment was based on him wanting light skinned brothers to come back in style.
If you recall from my prediction, sir, I actually rooting against Golden State. Um, again, taking my personal feelings out of it. I did predict they're going to be in the finals. I can make predictions, take my feelings out of it, and still make good, strong predictions based on solid judgment and not personal.
Yeah, I. But speaking of judgment,
Or lack
your
thereof.
your judgment may have been a little premature regarding the academy, because apparently they too were not satisfied with the initial um, response to the slap heard around the world, and so we had to basically revisit the Will Smith Chris Rock controversy because there's been some updates since the last pod the pod dropped, and dog, obviously, Jason, you got some pull, man, because the Academy heard you and they broke out the 10-year ban hammer on Will Smith.
See, I knew I had that kind of pull. You didn't know, apparently. Some listeners may not have known, some did. But now we know.
Yeah, I think the key is, though, you had said originally that the Academy didn't do anything at all, whereas they did try and pull up to Will and say, "Hey, fam, it really would be best if you just you departed for the evening."
And he refused. So in essence, they tried, but even after he refused, they still did nothing. They still could have removed him, forcefully, but they didn't. Not saying that would have been a good look for them, but still better than doing nothing.
Yeah, their hands were kind of tied too because it was like, dog, everybody knew he was going to win that night, so it's crazy. But yeah, anyways, the Academy decided to break out the 10-year ban hammer on Will Smith. He can't attend the Oscars for 10 years. That's kind of crazy. That because I had never heard of any ban for an actor, but I guess this is as close as they're gonna get to taking away the Oscar, right?
Well, per an article from CNN, they mentioned that yes, he's banned for 10 years. It means he can't attend any of their Academy events, but he can still be nominated. He'll still be part of their voting process, so he can still win an award in the next 10 years. He just can't attend the show. So somebody has to accept the award on his behalf, basically. Um, and part of their statement, they made, again, mentioned that CNN article, is they actually even acknowledged the fact that they didn't do enough that night. They actually acknowledge that. So it's not just me saying it. Even they said it, because they know it's true. They know they didn't do anything. And maybe that's why they went a little heavy on this punishment. Now, I'll say it's not for me to say what's too much or too little. 10 years is a long time. I'm sure Will Smith will make a lot of movies between now and then. So, a lot of people have different takes on the punishment as well, which we'll go into here in a little bit. But what were your thoughts on the ban itself and the amount you got?
My first thought is this is I'm gonna make a comparison to Martha Stewart and insider trading. It's one of those things where, hey, we know that the opportunity for insider trading is there and it's prevalent, but they don't want you to get too crazy with it. And so the United States government proceeded to make an example out of Martha Stewart. Well, they're doing the same thing in this scenario. They're doing the same thing with Will Smith and the Academy. The Academy has to say, okay, just in case somebody else decides to have 5 bad minutes, we need to have some sort of example to dissuade people from doing shit like this in the future. And so, really, the Academy, their hands are kind of tied because, yeah, the voting body had already decided, hey, this is who's going to get the award. I've already been on board saying I don't think someone should be penalized for having a bad 5 minutes. That's not the same as saying they shouldn't get away scot free. And so it's better than nothing. I mean, the fallout, ironically, Will Smith probably caught the brunt of it because he was the loudest. And you just can't have complete anarchy. I mean, I know we as a culture think that Hollywood is just this different place, and yeah, it is. But that doesn't mean that you can't have some bare minimum standard. So those are my initial thoughts. I figured they were probably going to do something. I always, I often look at penalties like this same way I look at, well, for example, NCAA, and deciding, oh, well, this this program is dirty. We need sanctions for them, and they take away scholarships or they take away records. And I'm like, okay, but you're not taking away the money. Um, so in some ways, the punishment is kind of muted anyway. To me,
Well, in that scenario with
but
NCAA, yeah, they're not taking money away directly, but in some cases they are. Yeah, taking away records, not necessarily in that way, but when you're taking away scholarships, postseason bans, things like that, that's where money is lost, taken away from that situation there. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What else you got to say? I'm sorry.
go ahead, keep cooking, go for it.
No, I'm just going to say that has one difference. So money is being taken away there. Well, Will Smith obviously is not going to be losing any money, not from the ban anyway. He's going to be losing money from all the people pulling out of this, pulling out of that, whatever, as far as his work that he has on the books now. But yeah, the ban's not hurting his money because he can still win awards too. So now
He
he
can
can stay
still
home.
win the awards,
Yeah.
but he's gonna, and listen, in a world where Mel Gibson got to not only be Oscar nominated and say all sorts of crazy shit about the Jewish community, well documented anti Semite, there is going to be a redemption story for Will. If for no other reason, it's because in a weird way, there is a growing growing sense that many people feel like Will's in an abusive relationship at home. Like, I know the last time we discussed this, we talked. It was all about, the focus was on Jada because the comments from Chris Rock were about Jada. At least some of them. Some of that shit was directed at Will too. We talked about that. The it's not fair that Will Smith made $20 million off of Wild Wild West.
Well, that was the previous award show that Chris Rock was making fun of them. But he didn't say that, you know.
He didn't say that night, but that's what I was stating is which this beef didn't start that night. That beef wasn't about one comment. That beef was cumulative beef.
Yeah, but that wasn't necessarily because of Chris Rock. But you mentioned Mel Gibson, and that was kind of one of the things I was going to go into when it comes to the takes that people have about this. Went to an article, BuzzFeed, and of course they have a bunch of people on Twitter, also celebrities as well, throwing their opinions about a 10-year ban. The one take people have is the fact that, and I mentioned this to you, that people are been saying that people who were part of the insurrection on January 6th of the Capitol building got less of a punishment than Will Smith did. And I think that's totally asinine because Will Smith's not in jail, not charged with a felony. He can still work in the same job he has now. He's not losing his freedom. So yeah, 10 years is longer than 6 months or a year, where these instructions got. I'm not sure anybody in their mama will take 10 years from now not being able to go to a party as opposed to spending a year in jail. I think that takes totally asinine there. Now there are some other ones. You mentioned Mel Gibson. Other people point out other celebrities who have done things not at the Oscars per se, but outside of them, like again, mentioned Mel Gibson with his anti-Semitic comments, Casey Affleck, Roman Polanski, Harvey Weinstein, people like that, who continue to win Oscars even though there was suspicion out there or it was known that these people did things. They still won Oscars. They got banned later. Weinstein was banned in 2017. Bill Cosby, Roman Polanski banned in 2018. So people bring up all these different things as well, and I'm not going to say they're wrong, but I will say the one difference is the things that these individuals did, from my knowledge, didn't actually happen on stage at the Oscars. What Will Smith did was. So, well, my point of saying that is that there is a little bit of a difference, and his punishment was based off what he did at the Oscars as opposed to outside of it. So he broke Oscars rules. These people didn't break Oscars rules. They got banned because the Academy didn't want to be associated with it. So a little bit of a difference there. Although I don't disagree with their sentiment, but there is that little bit of a difference. Now, the third take people bring up, of course, they mention race. Of course, there's that there. Part of that is tied into the last take I mentioned. Obviously, those celebrities I mentioned, other than Bill Cosby, are all white. Of course, obviously Will Smith is not. But those are kind of the three big takes I've seen online when it comes to people's opinions, celebrities and otherwise, about his 10 years. So, what are your thoughts about those takes that I just mentioned that people are mentioning?
All right, so the first take I recall you bringing up was oh, well, Will Smith got more time than the January 6th insurrectionists. Um, that's that's not even a good take. That's not even good bullshit.
It may
that's
not
my
be,
re-
though. A
that's
lot of people said it, though. A lot of people said it, and I agree. But
a lot. How many people that you would have actually given the time of day if you saw them in person, as opposed to some schmuck on social media?
well, that doesn't matter because, yeah, I'm sure, because so we're talking about social media. But that doesn't mean people that we know, also personally know, don't have the same opinion. I get your
Yeah,
point, I'm opinion in general. But
yeah.
this doesn't mean a lot of
I'm
people
still
don't
willing to
know
ignore
personally.
it just because I'm like, you're see, we're talking apples and aircraft carriers. I'm like,
No, we're
dog,
not. No, we're
yes
not.
we are. Yes we
Stop saying
are.
that term.
I'm like, dog, quit talking shit like Will Smith is now Nelson Mandela.
Hey,
I'm like, and listen, unless he's got to give the statue back, I don't. Then then we can start talking about injustice.
I mean, well, he's not getting it back, so and they're not going to ask for it back. So
They're not going to ask for it back because it's not in their best interest to ask for it back.
just like it wasn't in their best interest to escort him out of the building within that too.
It also wasn't in their best interest to try and escalate that situation because that shit was plenty escalated.
Well,
Sometimes best way to win that game is to not play. I know you don't agree with that, but if he don't listen, you got two millionaires who don't care about running up on people and slapping them up. Obviously, logic wasn't the star of the show that night.
well, it's not say two celebrities. There was only one doing the slapping. So
I'm okay, Mr. Well. Actually, I'm talking about the fact that two of them were involved.
okay. Well, what are your thoughts on the other two takes?
Um, I only really cared about the Trump cosplay insurrectionist one. What was the other two?
Well, the fact that these other celebrities got to continue winning awards before they got banned, but they were so quick to ban Will Smith and give him 10 years. But yet, even get the same grace period, for lack of a better term, that these other individuals I mentioned, Polanski, Cosby, Affleck, Casey Affleck, Harvey Weinstein, yeah, Mel Gibson. And the third take was just people saying on racist. So
Well, I'll start with the latter. I don't think it was racist. I don't think it was racist. They literally got you on video, dog.
but hey, like I said last time, kudos to Will Smith for being one of the few black men who committed crime in front of thousands of white folks and not getting jail, go to jail for it. So kudos to him for that.
I don't think there were so many fascinating takes, and a lot of people. And I need to stop using the term a lot of people. Was aware that some individuals on social media were incredibly concerned that this happened in front of a lot of white people. And I really feel like, dog, that didn't have shit to do with that. This, I feel like this is like the alopecia thing all over again. Like people tried to make that in that this 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 encounter, they tried to make it about them. Like, I don't think this encounter was about alopecia. I don't think this encounter was a black woman. I don't think this encounter about, oh man, Will, you making us look bad in front of white America. No, I think this encounter was about two millionaires, and one of them, or in this case, three millionaires, and one of them being in an abusive relationship.
See, no, I'm not. No. We're not going to play that. I'm not going to allow that game to be played on this show. We're not going to make that as an excuse.
When did I say? When did I say that that was the excuse? I'm saying that it's a factor.
No, it's not. It shouldn't be. No. I don't care what he said in the speech. I don't care what people say. That is not an excuse. I know what you just said. You're not saying excuse. It's not a factor either.
Okay.
It's not. It's not a factor. It's not a factor. Not an excuse. Period.
Okay, so we're just going to ignore what's going on.
In relation to him slapping somebody on stage, yeah.
Again, I
Me.
so Will part one. We already established that we were not saying that he gets a pass. So why do we have to keep adjudicating that? That's my question.
I'm just saying, you mentioned that twice now about the whole abusive relationship thing, quote unquote. That's you saying that, not me or anybody else. What I'm saying is
Actually, other people are saying it. That's the point.
well, they can say all they want, they're wrong. So the fact that he's
Okay.
using it, the fact that he's using it as an excuse is bad enough in itself.
I don't think he's even using it.
You sure?
I don't think Will Smith is using it.
You sure about that? Did you not hear his speech? He basically was indirectly. Go back and listen to the speech. That's what that speech is all about. Him using that as an excuse. Granted, he apologized, for whatever that's worth. I get that. But that's why that's the excuse he used. And again, I'll point out, like I said before, he had all the time to go from the seat.
Here we go.
All the way up to the stage. Until the point he got to Chris Rock before he had to do that. He had the guts enough to do it, is what it is. Let's stop
hashtag gumption.
No. No excuse. He did it. He got what he got. He got his 10 years, not in prison, again, folks. He'll be just fine with that. And that's it. Don't even be no other narratives involved. No matter what it is, he did it. Simple as that. He got his 10 years, he got his punishment. He's going to deal with it and live with it.
He got his 10 years. You're literally talking about it like it's actual jail time. That's even funny.
I'll tell you how you said it three times. That's not. So it's not me saying.
The definition of gumption, by the way, it's a noun: shrewd or spirited initiative and resourcefulness.
Well, I'd say that's pretty applicable, frankly. So.
Oh man.
That's my 2 cents. I'll give you a third if you want.
I think at this point you're at a dime's worth. Jesus. All right. That concludes our reassessment of the of the punitive nature of the Academy related to one Will Smith. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about the fact baseball season is upon us, and yet again, we have people saying that baseball has an engagement problem. Coming up next on Cal Park Bros.